Sorry, do you mind?
Yeah. No.
Just a few points, Minister, as well. Could I just ask on this page here, on the appropriations in aid page, could you explain what comes under the miscellaneous category? Just 6.1, 6.4, 6.2 million in miscellaneous. And also on the one above it, on the secondments and overpayments, what exactly are there? Many overpayments, or what happens there? In relation to transport, again, I'm going to go back to Minister English, please, and direct this question. Again, Senator Maloney raised the question of the need for say a bus being supplied for 10 students, not for 9. Could I also ask, in the case of transport for special ed schools, I know that my office brought one particular case to you this year about a child who was looking for transport to a special education school. A bus was driving past that house with another special ed child going to a special ed school, but they weren't entitled to get the transport for it and had to pay the concessionary fee of €100. I still haven't got an answer to the logic behind why a bus could take one child and not take the other. I do understand, when the criteria for going, and maybe this is kind of going off point just a little bit, but when it comes down to, and this is kind of a general education thing, when it comes down to the choice of school for a child that's going to a special ed school, very often, and it's a point I've had many dealings with, very often the choice comes down to where they say which is the school that the CNO recommends. The person who knows the child with special education best is the parent, and very often parents would like their child maybe to go to a school that's maybe a half a mile in another direction or a little bit further, but if they go to the school that the CNO recommends, they get the transport, but if they don't, they have to pay for the transport themselves. So I'd just like to ask, is there anything, or any way that this could be addressed, could be looked at? Sometimes, and I know it's something that I've brought up with the NCSE before, the NCCA as well, looking at that who determines. Sometimes they talk about the CNOs. CNOs don't always meet the children, despite what's said. CNOs do not always see the child, and I don't understand how people can make decisions about where their child can go to school without even meeting the child. So I just think it's very, very important that in terms of the transport, because it causes huge headaches, and I know this year alone, despite the improvements, I can't provide an answer to them why one child with special needs is allowed to go on that bus and get free transport, and the child that lives three doors up the road had to pay €100 concessionary going to the same school.
So I'll just answer the one about the miscellaneous and the headings about the secondments and overpayments, etc. That is appropriations and aid, so that's actually money that comes in, and some of it would be where all grant money wasn't spent, for example. We have to account for money that comes back into the department as well as money that we spend. So that's what that subhead is about. So
who would spend that money? Sorry, who would get a grant and not spend it?
Yeah, there might be money that was allocated for a particular purpose and there was still money there at the end of the year. So it has to come in and go back out, if you know what I mean. Then have I covered everything else apart from the school buses? And I think Minister English might want to say something about research in that area.
Onto the buses, and a couple of people have raised the issue of what happens when you go below 10. It was 7 in the past. and on the changes made a number of years ago, the number was raised up to 10. There has to be a cut-off point at some stage where it becomes not efficient of taxpayer spend to run a bus for 3 people or 2 people or 5 people. And the ideal number picked at the time was 10. No, I'm not finished. Sorry,
the point I made is that when it does get down to 2 or 3...
I'm not finished. Sorry, I wasn't finished the point. So there is an issue when you go below the magic number, be it 10, 7 in the past, what happens to those people? If they're eligible to have a bus ticket, they will get a contribution towards the cost of transport. It's a remote grant. So if you are the 8 children that are eligible to get that bus, and the bus no longer goes because it's not efficient to run it, the family can apply for a grant towards the cost of transporting the children to school, and that is there. People apply for that and they will get that as well, and rightly so, because it's not their fault it's gone below the magic number of 10. But there is we have to try to run the scheme efficiently throughout the country, because it's not an endless budget, it's a limited budget for these, even though it's a demand-led service as well. The other issue then in relation to special needs, and quite a lot of the increase in the spend in this area is down to special needs and provision of special needs, so it's something we take very, very seriously, and the department, in fairness, are responding to that needs to make sure that people and people with special needs get to be able to avail of education. So there's quite a high spend in this area to facilitate that. The issue of a particular case you raised, a bus driving past your door, why are you not eligible? The bus route is arranged and decided around children that are eligible to go to their nearest school. Right, we'll come back to who decides that in a second. The case you identified, the person wasn't eligible wasn't eligible to go on that route, but there is a bus or a kind of, I forget if it was a bus or a taxi, I forget the case, driving past their house. They're allowed onto that because it's in a concession, because there is space on the vehicle to take them. But the scheme has to be implemented the same right throughout the country. So non-eligible children are always, they're regarded as concessionary, and they have to make a contribution to the cost. It's €100. I know it's an extra additional cost. It's not an overly excessive cost in the scheme of things, and it's only a contribution. But to be fair and equitable to how we run the scheme throughout the country, even though the bus passes the house, I know it seems illogical to you.
And I know, I totally
accept it seems illogical on that one case.
But I think it's going to the point of who decides.
I'm going to the point,
and should the parents not have...
But just to be clear, the scheme was run nationally, so it does make a logic nationally looking down, right? And from a budget point of view, it might seem illogical in individual cases, but there has to be the same rules applied throughout the system. Then who makes the decision? The CNO, in fairness to the CNO, is implementing national rules that are set. So it's not that they're they can discard the rules. There are a set of guidelines and principles that they try to follow. They have to judge and recommend to the system which is a school that the child is eligible to go to, right? And it's generally your nearest school. But in terms of a case of a child with disability, or if there's a language or whatever, that you find the nearest school suitable to their needs, right? And that's properly resourced for that as well. So, and the CNO has to judge that based on the national guidelines and make the recommendation. It probably is helpful along the way if they meet the child, but I don't think that's necessary to be able to judge where the nearest school is with the supports. That's generally done from reports and so on. But it's wrong to blame the CNO. They have to use the rules, and those rules are. We try to make them as fair as we can throughout the country. Again, we're always reviewing them to see can we make changes to them. But there has to be some system of judging what school you will go to.
If you're sick, you can't have a doctor diagnose you or say what the treatment should be unless they meet you, unless they examine you. So I don't see why people should be deciding which is the most suitable school.
With respect, I mean, we'd all love that every parent could decide themselves what school to go to, and we try to facilitate choice as best we can. But it is taxpayers' money. You're trying to provide a public transport system for over 100,000 pupils as best you can within the budget, right? But there isn't the finances to allow endless choice, and that's why there was a scheme brought in. Now, if you say that the parents in all cases, and certainly special needs, will make the choice, then we're into trying to provide the buses that can be going every which way. We can't do that. There has to be a system, there has to be guidelines, and you hope that that's as best applied to suit everyone's needs. But in some cases it has ended up that, I've seen cases where common sense needs to prevail, that departments would come together, would come together in terms of Department of Health, Department of Education, to find alternative solutions, which has happened, and we've managed to achieve that in some cases, right? And as I said, we're always reviewing guidelines and always rules to see can we change them to allow for this. But you can't have a situation that a parent will decide, yes, they're best placed to know and they certainly have influence on the S, and they would meet the S, the CNO, and they would talk to them, because I deal with cases in my office on a daily basis who there is engagement there, right? But someone has to make the call to apply the rules, and it can't really be a parent. That's not the way it is.
Absolutely not, and with respect, I mean,
Okay,
I do. Yeah.
We might move on because I think we've exhausted.
So I hope I've covered that. But I mean, we can talk about that in the case.
Can I